Hi, welcome to my show Azure Essential Series. This is your host Habibur Rahman, and this is our episode 6. We will talk about Azure Container Registry and Azure Container Instances. So let's start this. This is the agenda of our today episode. First of all, we will talk about Azure Container Registry, and then we will go to a practical session where we will create an Azure Container Registry using Azure Portal. Then we will push default images to Container Registry. Then we will talk about Azure Container Instances. We will also look how to create a container instance using Azure portal, and then how to run custom images on Azure container images. And at the end, we will have a Q&A session. So let's start this. This is your host. I'm two-time C Shop Corner MVP, Microsoft Certified Solution Developer, and currently working as a lead software developer at Now Software. So, first of all, what is Azure Container Registry? ACR is a basically managed private Docker registry service in Azure that allows you to store and manage container images. Maybe you have heard about Docker Hub. Basically, that's another container registry provided by Docker, but a lot of other third-party services are available, and one of them is Azure Container Registries. So the main purpose of Azure Container Registry is to host your images securely inside your Azure Docker registry. And these images can be private, public, so you can store them according to your requirements. Then it have a seamless integration with Azure Kubernetes services, Azure DevOps, and other Azure services. Because it's provided by Microsoft, so they provide a lot of seamless integration. It also provides us a multi-region replication for high availability and reduced latency. Then we also have security options where you can scan images for different vulnerabilities, and you can also enforce different security policies so that you can unauthorize the users, the unwanted users. Then for the benefits that we have with ACR are scalability. So you can scale your large number of images and repositories with multiple instances so that you don't have to be worried about how many users are pulling your images, so you can scale them at any time. It's also cost effective. You have to only pay for the storage and data transfer that you are using. And then it also provide built-in security features including content trust and image signing. So this is basic introduction of Azure Container Registry. Okay, let's start with Azure Container Registry. First of all, I will show you how to create Azure Container Registry. So first of all, let me share my screen. You need one Azure account. Maybe you already have subscription. If you don't, you can create one. You can create Azure account with a free trial. Okay. So first of all, I will click on create a resource, and inside a resource, the category which I need is basically containers. And inside this, you can see that there are multiple Azure popular services available. You have Azure Kubernetes, you have web app for containers, we have batch services, we have container instances and service fabric cluster as well. But as per our episode, we will be creating container registry. So let's create on this button, and Azure will quickly open a new blade for creating container registry. The first step that you need to do is select a subscription. So my subscription is pay as you go. This is the only subscription that I have on my account. Then we have resource group. You can create a new resource group, but I already have one resource group, which name is AES. AES means Azure Essential Series. So I will be using this. Then we need to specify registry name. So basically, registry name is the name, and it will be basically the subdomain name that you will be using for accessing your Azure Container Registry. And this name should be unique. So you can put any name. You can see that this name is not available. So I can say Azure Essential Series C short. I hope this name will be available. Okay. So this name is available. AES C short. Then I need to select the location. This location is basically the region where I want to store my Azure container images. So I will be using East US because my resource group is already having the same. Then you can see that there is one option for use availability zones, and these availability zones are only available on premium registries. So you can see that there are three pricing plans. One is basic, standard, and premium. So if I select premium, then I will be able to use this availability zone options. Basically, this availability zones option will automatically replicate your registry on multiple regions, and this will also decrease your latency and provide high resilience. So I don't need this option, and for this I will be using standard option. Okay. Then we have a networking option, and you can also see this networking option is only available for premium pricing plans. So let me go back and select the premium one and then move to the next. Okay, so inside network connectivity, you can make it public and you can make it private access as well. If you make it private, then you have to specify endpoint connection so that you can specify which users can access your registry. So you can see that inside security, you can also select a virtual network, and only using that virtual network, this container registry will be accessible. So in my current case, I don't need this, so I will select public access. Okay. Then we have encryption option. If you are interested to encrypt your Azure image, your Azure registry images, then you can also make them encryption enabled. But you need an identity account for managing your custom keys for the purpose of encryption. So in my current case, I will select this disabled. Then there is option for tags. So you can associate different tags with your this Azure resource. But I don't need this, so I will move to the next review at create section. So inside this tab, you can see the basic details of your resource that you are going to deploy. First of all, we have registry name, then we have subscription, resource group, then we have pricing plan. If you click on create button, then Azure will create a new container registry for you. It will take a few minutes to create this. So let's see this. Okay, so now my deployment is in progress. Microsoft is making it ready for me. It may take few minutes. So we have to wait for this. Okay, so go to resource and see whether it is up and running or not. Okay. Okay, so you can see that the provision state has been succeeded, which means my Azure Container Registry is up and running. Here are few options which are available inside my container registry. One of them is login server name. So you can see that this is the domain name or the server name that I will be using for accessing my container registry. and this name is aescsharp.azure.cr.io. And if you see this, we have different options for pushing our images to containers. The simple one is if I click on this push an image, and it is showing me different steps that I need to perform to push an image to Azure Container Registry. So first of all, there are two things which are required on your desktop machine to access this. You need Azure CLI and Docker CLI, and then you will be able to then you will be able to push an image to this container registry. I already have installed this. If you don't, you can install this by going Azure CLI. Click on this and click here install Windows. Okay, so here you can see that three options are available. You can select this if you have 64-bit system. So just click on this and then you need to install this and then you will be able to access Azure CLI. Okay, so that's good. And you also need to install Docker CLI. Click on this button. It will show you Docker command line. You just need to install this to continue the same episode. Okay, so let's start this. I already have installed this. Let me open my CMD here. Okay. First of all, you need to log in with Azure. So I already have logged in, but if you are not logged in, you just need to click on Azure. You just need to write ASAP login and click on enter button. Azure CLI will redirect to you to a browser where you can just select your Microsoft account and you will be logged in. The next step is you need to log in with your Azure uh, registry, Azure Container Registry, and you have to write Azure ACR login, then the name of the registry, AESC dot, and click on this. Microsoft will log in with that. Uh, okay, currently it is giving me an error. Uh, Probably it is saying that would not be found in subscription pay as you go. Uh, there is something wrong with my login, so let me check that. Okay, so it is asking me for login. It will take a little bit time to retrieve my tenants and subscription. But we check this whether I have been logged in or not. Okay, so it looks like my login is working fine and I am unable to retrieve the resource group names. So let's try it again as your ACR login and the name is AESC shop. Okay, still it is giving me an error could not connect to registry. So it means we have to diagnose this issue why this is not connecting with my CMD. Okay, so first of all, there is one option that we need to enable for pushing, that is admin user. So this will provide my user, basically that is mhabiburrahman@gmail.com. So this will provide admin user rights for this registry. So go to overview and let's try it again. Still, it is giving me an error. Let's check for other options which are available for login. And it is giving me the same one. It look like basically Azure takes a few minutes to up and running this. I already have created one Azure Container Registry. So let's try with this. This is the same Azure Container Registry, but with a different name. So let's try to log in with this. And the name for this registry is Finship. Okay, it's taking a little bit time. Okay, login succeeded. Okay, so you can see this Azure Container Registry has been logged in successfully. So I will be using this one. I already have a few repositories or images which I have pushed inside this. So let me try to delete them so that we can push latest images. Okay, and delete this one as well. Make it clear so that it don't make any confusion. Click on refresh button. It will take a little bit time. Okay, it will be updated. Okay, so the next step is first of all, we will pull a built-in or you can say default image from the Microsoft website. So it's very easy. You just need to copy this line of code. Okay, this command will basically pull Hello World program from Microsoft Container Registry. So this MCR is a default registry provided by Microsoft that it contains all the sample applications. So first of all, we need to pull that. So it pulled successfully, and then we need to push this image to our Azure Container Registry, which is Finship. And first of all, we need to tag this. We will update this tag with the OR tag, and I will also update this name to winship.azure.cr.io so that I can push it easily. Azure cr.io. Okay. Tag have been updated. If I see the list of images which are available, so you can see that one of them is available, Finship. This one, finship.azure.cr.io/sample. So now I will be pushing this to my registry, and I just need to write docker push. Then I need to specify the name, which is finship dot azure cr.io/sample slash hello one. So it's preparing for pushing this image to my Azure Container Registry. It will take a little bit time. It depends on the network speed and the size of the file. Okay, so it looks like my image have been pushed successfully and the size was 524 MB. Okay, so if I go to my repository section and refresh this, so this is the newly pushed image, and you can see that the time is 9:19 a.m. So it means this is the latest one I just pushed a few seconds ago. Okay, so now you have made the concept that container registry is simple a drive or a location where you can store your container images, and then you can use these container images for different purposes. So now let's move to Azure Container Instances. Let me go to slides. Okay. Okay. Now we have introduction to Azure Container Instances. First of all, what is Azure Container Instance? ACI is a service basically that allows you to run Docker containers directly on Azure without managing virtual machines or adopting a high level orchestration service. So this is just like a Docker engine, which is hosted on Microsoft infrastructure. You don't have to be worried about managing virtual machines, or you don't have to be worried about allocating resources manually and configuring all these stuff. Microsoft Azure provide you this service. So you just need to run your container and all other stuff will be managed by Microsoft. And key features of ACI or first of all, serverless containers. Serverless container means you can instantly run your containers without needing to manage infrastructure. You don't have to create a new virtual machine. Microsoft will deploy this on serverless computing resources. It's also have flexible resource allocation, so you can specify exact number of CPU and the memory requirement that you need for each instance, which means it's very easy for you to update the number of CPU or memory on the runtime. You don't have to restart your system, and the zero time is no. So there is no zero time, so there is no downtime. So your application will be not down. It's also have fast startup, so you can deploy quickly on Azure Container Instances within seconds. Then there are a few benefits of Azure Container Instances as well. First of all, it is cost effective. You have to pay only for the compute resources which your containers are using and running. You can easily scale out containers to meet demand. For example, you want to scale out your number of instances from 1 to 100. So that is very easy within few clicks, and it will help you to manage your user request. Then we have very simple management. You can focus on your application logic and on development side without worrying about the underlying infrastructure. There are few other options available for deployment. You can deploy Azure Container Instances using Azure Container Registry or Docker Hub, or you can also use Azure Portal, Azure CLI, and ARM templates. Then we have resource management. You can make a group of your Azure containers, and you can start or stop, or you can manage the life cycle of the Azure Container Resource Group easily. Azure Container Instances also have integration with Azure other services. First of all, we have Azure Kubernetes services, and you can use Azure Container Instances for burst scenarios to handle peak workloads. You can also have integration with Azure Logic apps and functions. If you are making an event-driven application or workloads, you can automate them using Azure containers. And then we have different networking options. You can create virtual networks for secure communication with Azure resources. So these are the key points of Azure Container Instances. So now let's start this to creating Azure Container Instances. You can see that there is one image on the bottom side of the slide. So this is your PC. Then you will create a Docker image, and you will push that Docker image to Azure Container Registry. Azure Container Registry is the central location which will be storing all the container images that you have, and then you can run your container images on Azure Container Instances. So this is a simple flow chart how Azure Container Registry and how Azure Container Instances work. So let's start the session. and let me share my screen. Okay. So I already have one Azure Container Registry. Now I will create Azure Container Instance. First of all, go to Home, click on Create a Resource. Okay, now select the containers, and inside container, we will select container instances. There are a lot of options available, but in our case, we will be using this one. So click on Create. Microsoft will take a little bit time. Okay, so likewise, we see first of all, we have to select subscription, that is pay as you go. Then we need to select a resource group. I already have created that, so I will be using AES. Then we have container name. So you can specify any container name for this. In my case, I will be using, for example, web app. Okay, so this container name is available because it's unique inside my resource group. Then we need to select the region. Region is basically the location where my container instance will be running. Then there are availability zones. So you can select the number of zones where you want to be make your application running. So if I will select three, so my container instance will be running on three different zones. So this is one option, but I will be going with none because this is just for development purpose. Then we have SKU. So there are two options. One is standard container group providing hypervisor level isolation recommended for most workload. Then you can also use confidential container groups, so these provides with a few other options. You can use in-memory encryption and hardware level isolation. For example, if your application is very private and you have concerns about your security, so you can use this confidential. Then Microsoft will run your container on a different hardware level isolation levels. So which means the hardware will be different for your Azure containers, but that will be expensive. So in my case, I will be use standard option. Then image resource. Basically, this is the source from which we will pull our container images and then we will run them. So you can see that this source can be Azure Container Registry and Docker Hub or any container registry. So, which means you just need to put the URL of your container registry, the image type. If that is private, you need to provide username and password. And if that is public, you just need to provide the URL. And in my case, I already have Azure Container Registry. So I can select uh, my Azure Container Registry, and that was pin shape. And then I can select the image which I want to run. And in my case, the image name is samples slash hello world, and this is the image tag. So I want to run the latest image, so I will be using this. Uh, there is also quick start images. For example, you don't have your custom image and you want to use the Microsoft image, so you can use this one. So let's do the over image, and then we have size of the Azure Container Instance. If I click on change size, here you can change the specification um, of your running container instance. For example, you can specify the number of CPU cores. If I specified 5, which means my Azure container instance will be using 5 cores of a CPU, and the maximum number is 32. For example, I want to use two. Then there is memory size, which is available from 1 to 256 gigabit. So you can use this option. You can specify the memory which you required, and you can change this later on also. If you need GPU, you can also configure that. So here you can specify the GPU type, V100. You can also specify the GPU count. As I don't need a GPU for my application, so I will select none. Now let's move to the next tab. If I click on networking, let me save this because I have unsaved changes. Okay. If I see this networking, so inside networking, you can configure your network type. You can make it private, public, or none. So I will be using public. Here you can use a DNS label. So DNS label means you just need to specify any label which will be part of the subdomain, and you can use that for accessing your containers. And in public option, you can see that public will create a public IP address for your container instance. So if I will go with this option, it will automatically create a public IP address, and using that, I will be able to access my Azure container instance. And if you have custom ports which you want to specify for your application. For example, your app is running on a different port, so you can specify here which port you want to open for your application. And 80 is the default port for HTTP, so I will be using this. So click on advanced option. We have different configurations related to restart policies and environment variables. For example, there are three restart policies. You want to restart on failure, and then you don't want to restart your instance and make it always. So I think on failure, that is fine. If your container will fail, it will automatically restart your Azure container instance. If you have different maybe app settings or environment variable inside your application, then you can use these options. You just have to provide the key and the value for that key for environment variable. So okay, so in my case I don't have anyone, so I will move to next. Here you can specify the tags for this Azure resource. Here is review and create blade. So here you can look all the information available. For example, this will show you which registry I will be using for running this image, which image I will be running, and all this information is available. The server which will be using, and here is networking application. So let's click on create. Azure will take a little bit time to deploy this resource. Climate is currently in progress. We have to wait for this. Succeeded. Let's go to the resource and see whether that is running or not. Currently, the instance does not started because it takes a little time to provision all the resources, and then it runs. And here is the information. This is the public IP address on which my application for this will be accessible. And if I go to containers, so here you can see the events which is happening, and inside these events you can see first of all this pulled my image, and then it started the container, and the current status is killing. So it looks like there is something not running yet. But if I go to the logs here, I can see the logs of my running application. So this shows that hello from Docker. This message shows that your installation appears to be working correctly. So this image was a simple console application which shows this message and which means your app is running fine. But maybe you are interested how to host a web application on Azure Container Instance. So we can see that as well. So let's create another Azure Container Instance app, and we will create that using a built-in template from Microsoft. So click on Container Instance, and I will select all the options quickly. And currently, I will select Web App. I will make it AES Web App, and I will select Quick Start Images. And this is the default image. I will be using Hello World application. I will quickly go to Review and Create section. Okay, click on Create. So now I'm creating another container, Microsoft. Status is in progress. I think just few more seconds to complete. Okay, deployment completed. Go to the resource. Okay, so this is the public IP address. And if I go inside my containers, so here you can see that the status of my container is started and the state is running. This is the image which is running, and the name of container instance is AES Web App. If I move to logs, you can see that currently my image is running on port 80. Okay, so let's access this IP address in web browser to see that whether my app is running or not. Sometimes it takes a little bit time to run the container instances and make them available over public IP address, but hopefully it will be accessible now. Okay, so you can see that welcome to Azure Container Instance. This was a simple image which is basically running this. So this is how you can run your container instances. There is one option how you can containerize your .NET application. That is not part of the topic, but still I can show you. Okay, so let me create a new project inside Visual Studio. I have Visual Studio 2029. Click on create a new project, and I will be using MVC application. I will name it web application 2 .NET 8. I don't need authentication. And here you can also enable Docker support, or we can make this available later. So I will click on this enable Docker. Click on create. Okay. So now you can see that simple application ASP.NET MVC web application have been created, and this application contains a Docker file. And inside Docker file, we have the mechanism how to build our application, and then how to run this application on container. So this is the Docker file that we can use for running our application. So if you want to publish this application on your container registry, you just need to click on publish option. Visual Studio provide us built-in publish options which you can use for pushing your images. So in my case, I will use Docker Container Registry. Click on next button. And here there are three options. You can use Docker Hub, other Docker Container Registries. But as I'm using Azure ACR, so I will select this. As I am already logged in with the same account inside my Visual Studio, so it will work. I just need to select my subscription name, and inside subscription, these are resource groups. I have one resource group AES, and here there are two container registries. I will be using this Finship. Click on next button, and now there are two options for build your a Docker Hub image. One is .NET SDK, one is Docker Desktop, and you can see that no Docker file is required for .NET SDK, and Docker file is required for Docker Desktop. So I'm interested to build this using Docker Desktop. So I will click this finish section. So a new publish profile have been created, and when I will click on publish button, Visual Studio first of all, will build my application using Docker Desktop, and then it will publish that on Azure Container Registry. But this take a little bit time, like it may take 2 or 3 minutes, depending on the internet connection speed. So let's see this, how much time it takes. Maybe it deploy quickly, but we have to wait. So you can see that currently it is running the Docker file to build the application. Okay, so it is showing me that Docker image have been created. Now it is pushing it to finship.azure.cr.io web application 2. It is preparing, waiting, and pushed. Okay, so currently it is showing me your application have been published successfully. But I think currently it's not completed because the status is still pending. Wait for 2 more seconds. Let's check this inside my Azure portal. I must- So I can also find this using resource group. This is my resource group. And inside that, I have all these resources. I need to access Pinship container registry. So I will click on this and go to repositories. Okay. Currently, my image is not showing here. So it means currently it is still pushing the image. So I have to wait for this. Please pushing it. It takes time. Okay, so it is showing me successfully pushed Docker image with tag latest. Let's check it again. Okay. So now you can see that I just pushed my ASP.NET Core MVC web application to my Azure Container Registry, and the registry name and the image name is web application 2. So let me show you how we can run our custom images using container instance. So let's go to create another instance, containers, create an instance. So I will be selecting all the options quickly. I will select web app 2, standard. Here I will select container registry, then the image that is web application 2 and the latest one and networking section. As you seen that inside our Docker file, the exposed ports was 8080 and 8081. So which means my application will be exposed to these ports. So I have to make these ports public. Then I will be able to access my application. So I will add these ports as well. And the protocol is TCP. This port is for HTTPS. I don't have currently that, but still I can try that. And all other options are default. Click on create. So Microsoft is initializing the deployment. It will take few seconds or maybe minutes to deploy this. Let's wait for this. Still waiting. Deployment status is in progress. I hope it will take few more seconds. Okay. Status is completed. Go to the resource. If I move to containers, so you can see that it pulled my container and then started that, and the status of my app is running. Let's copy the IP address, the public IP address, and check this here, whether that is accessible or not. It will take a little moment before it's first time to call. It's not accessible on default port. Let's try this with 8080. Okay, so basically, as I have not specified 80 port inside my Docker file, so that's why my app is running on 8080 port. So this is how you see how we can build our .NET application, how we can containerize our ASP.NET Core MVC application and publish the image to Azure Container Registry. Let's move to the slide. So now you have understand this flow chart. This is my local PC. So here was my ASP.NET Core MVC application. I published this application using Visual Studio, and Visual Studio pushed the Docker image to Azure Container Registry, and then I created a new instance of Azure Container instance using that Docker image. So this was the complete flow of how to run Dockerized applications on Azure, or how to run custom images on Azure serverless computing options. So this was episode 6. We talk about Azure Container Registry and Azure Container Instances. I hope you have enjoyed this episode, and thank you for being the part of C Shop Corner Islamabad chapter. Hopefully see you in next episode, and have a good day. Bye bye.